Today we are going to be unboxing the Spider Farmer 27-inch by 27-inch by 62-inch grow tent, and I am really curious to see these plastic corners that I have heard so much about. This is the first tent that we have unboxed in quite a while, as the last ones that we had gotten from Spider Farmer lasted us for years. While it is great that they lasted so long, it also means that I have not needed to unbox one for a long time. As always, when unboxing a grow tent with a knife, make sure that you do not cut too deeply into the box, as you don't want to put holes in the fabric. They have always had a layer of cardboard under the tape on the side of the box that the tent fabric is on, but you always just want to be careful when opening these things. First up are the plastic corners that will hold everything together, and at first glance they look pretty sturdy and are definitely a little more bulky and reinforced than the metal ones in the past were. Next up is a bag of patches and the manual that the tent comes with that will tell you how to assemble it. After that is a bag that holds the tent poles, and this is quite an upgrade from the nothing that the poles came in before. I will have more to say about it later, but this is a really nice addition. Next up is a protective layer of cardboard and a sheet of stickers. Finally, there is a bag that has the tent fabric itself, and under that you can see the last layer of cardboard that I had mentioned that protects the tent fabric from being cut through on the other side of the box if you open it that way. Let's get the tent poles out, and I want to mention just how much I appreciate this bag. I know that a lot of folks don't have to deal with this particular problem, but if you have ever had to pull a tent down to store it, the tent poles are a nightmare to deal with. If you wrap them up in the center of the tent fabric, they just keep sliding out the end and fall everywhere, and just make a freaking mess. With this bag, there is now a place to keep the poles and the corners if you ever have to tear it down, and you are going to be super thankful that you have this bag, so make sure not to get rid of it once you are finished assembling the tent. As per usual, there are two bags of poles in here. One of them has the poles that will form the top and bottom squares along with the two upper crossbars, and the other bag will have the two types of poles that get combined to make the uprights. Now that the corners do not use the same click-together system as the poles do, there is really only one way to assemble these, which is nice for folks that are assembling a tent for the first time. Now that everything is unboxed, it is time to get the top and bottom assembled. As all of these poles and corners are the exact same, just grab 4 of each and start assembling. While there are some valid concerns that I can see about these plastic corner pieces, I actually kind of like them now that I'm assembling a tent that has them in there. The corners are nicely rounded in every direction, so there is going to be a much lower chance of someone ripping the corner of their tent as they assemble it. They are also even easier to use than the metal ones if such a thing is possible. You just slide the pole into the corner and then tighten down the screw end to secure it in. You don't have to worry about not aligning them quite right, as the pole can still twist when it is in there. I will have to see how they hold up over time, but at least initially, it doesn't feel like a bad change. Once you have both the top and bottom squares put together, it is time to connect them with the upright poles that we already assembled. This part is even easier. Just push the poles into each of the corners and tighten them up with the same screwing mechanism that we put the tops and bottoms together with. Once the uprights have been inserted into the bottom corners, it is time to put the top square on there, and the hardest part of this is lining the first one up on the back side if you decide to try to do those ones first like I did. Tighten them up just like everything else that we have done so far, and it is time to put the fabric on the framework. The first thing you need to do is get it unrolled and unfolded, and then find the end of the zipper. Open it up all the way around and figure out which part of it is the top. You can tell because of the Spider Farmer logo that will be in the upper right above the front of the door. Place the entire thing over the top, pulling it from the back of the tent forwards to the front. You are pretty much pulling the framework in through the tent door. Once you have all 4 of the corners pulled down nice and snug over the framework, it is time to get the bottom under it without ripping it to shreds. Just kidding, what we are actually going to do is start zipping the door closed until it gets down towards the bottom of the framework. Once it is there, just flip the entire tent over onto its top. This is going to make it a lot easier to finish fitting the fabric over the bottom of the framework. Once it is all on there, run both of the zippers back around the way we just came so that they end up back at the top of the door. There it is, a fully assembled tent. This version has the same excellent zipper and zipper cover flap that the previous ones have had, with a vent opening in the door that you can Velcro up out of the way if you want to leave it open. They have kept the door hook on the left side of the tent so that you can hold the door open while you are working on the plants, which I am really happy to see that they have included. There is nothing worse than finding the door flapping back in your face when you are in there thinning the plants out. Looking inside the tent, you can see that I haven't installed the bottom tray yet so that we can see the corner pieces. There are 3 of the rectangular vents at the bottom here that you can open up by removing the Velcro flaps on the outside of the tent, and on the back wall there is a 3-inch port for cords. As we look up towards the top, you can see just how reflective these sides are, which is great for light penetration, and then we get to the ports that are up on top. On the back wall, there is another 3-inch port for cables with a single 8-inch port on the back right of the top of the tent. There are also 2 6-inch ports, one on the left wall and another on the right wall, which should have you covered to get all the cords and ducts into and out of the tent. By far, the biggest questions I had going into this unboxing were about the new plastic corners. When I first heard about these things showing up, I was surprised and a little disappointed, but after putting this tent together, I think that it is going to be fine. They are very strong, and they have made the framework even easier to assemble. They are also not going to scrape the paint off of the bars when you are assembling the tent, which means that you are not going to be seeing rust on those scrapes. If you don't like the plastic, I still totally get it, but I think that in this case they are actually going to be an improvement over the previous metal ones, but that is just my opinion. If you have any questions about this tent that I have still not answered, leave them in the comments down below and I will get them answered for you. A big thank you to Spider Farmer for sending over this 27-inch by 27-inch by 62-inch grow tent for us to take a look at. If you want to check out their gear for yourself, make sure to click on the links to their website in the video description down below and use the discount code GEEKS at checkout to get 8% off your entire order. Another big shout out goes to our patrons over on Patreon that have pledged at the trimmer level. While all of our patrons help keep the channel going, you folks have gone above and beyond, and we really appreciate it.